How to combine technical and artistic tools in SelfCAD. Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to review another interactive tutorial from SelfCAD's website. You can find it if you type in egg in the search bar, this will show up. I use the download for desktop version option to download the tutorial, and I'm actually using the online version. I just use that so it allows me to load many tutorials over and over the same project, but it's just a personal preference. You can simply click on it and load a new project. So with that said, I'm going to play the tutorial and I'm going to explain what I'm actually aiming with this video. So the first thing is there's quite a lot to explain in this tutorial. It's very nice, clever how the designer did it, mixing some technical and artistic tools, which is very common for, especially for beginner designers. They mix just any set of tools. Then I'm going to show some tips. I'm also going to show a tool I haven't had a chance yet to explain, the Allign tool. I want to show how it could be used. And finally, going to show some really helpful tip how you can actually convert an artistic type of file or any other mesh for that matter, how you can convert them into profiles and even export them for solid modeling applications or things like that. So to get started, I'm going to skip through the things that it's quite simple, just creating a sphere, and then after creating a sphere, just scaling it, which is quite simple. And after scale, it's going to deform, which is also, I don't think I had a chance to show it yet, and it's basically deforming the shape in two directions, which gives it kind of the egg shape. And then afterwards, it's closing the taper. Okay, so now you created the egg shape basically just using kind of artistic type of tool, simple shapes and so on. And now it's going to start doing drawing, where it's actually going to use some technical drawing. It's setting the minimum step size, so this is in the precision settings. So it's not highlighted, I'm not sure why, but over here you have to select minimum step size. You set them to 1, so, and then you set the minimum angle to 1 as well. So this allows you kind of to draw straight, and it's selecting both of them, both options. So basically it selects this, so it allows you to draw straight, and then you kind of follow these things. So what's interesting over here, what the designer has actually done is created something we call a guide. So this thing that's created over here is actually not part of the design, it's just a guide. And this is why you're going to uncheck now this profile. And if you uncheck the profile, it's going to create now a new profile. And you can still use the original profile points to snap to it, which is the whole point of making a guide. So we're going to snap now from this point to this point of the guide and then snap it over here. So the whole idea over here was to create this kind of an arc, and it's created first a guide based on how to do it. And now it's switching back, going to Allign, and it's continuing drawing some a little more. So we're just going to skip through the basic drawing, and now what it's going to do here is just continue drawing. And now it needs a little bit more the guide, so you can keep switching between the profile and the guide. So it's unchecking the profile and selecting the profile 1, which is basically the guide, and drawing again, kind of extending the guide. So you have now in order how to make the new arc over here. And as you can see, I'm just going to skip through it, but basically the whole idea over here is drawing kind of a technical type of drawing with precision, and using the precision is by drawing other pieces used as a guide, and you keep on switching between them. So I'll just skip this through quickly, and what you do over here is after it's finalized is, okay, so you finalize here. What you have over here is, you have here actually deleted already the second profile, so you're left with this profile which has been created nicely, all of these arcs positioned nicely by first creating some other guides. Now it's actually going to rotate this profile. Okay, so we're going to kind of put it into position, and this is for creating the cup. And now it's going to the Revolve tool. So it's using the Revolve tool, and in the Revolve tool you can set the segments for smoothness, so it's setting it to 60, so to look quite smooth. You can make it even much more smoother, but it's not needed, I guess. And then you finalize it. Okay, so now what you have over here, you're deselecting this, selecting the profile. You can actually get rid of the profile. It's just deleting the profile at this point. And now you select again the mesh. So what happened over here is it created an open profile. If you see my revolve video, I've shown that there is two options how to revolve. You can revolve around an axis, an edge that you create. And in that case, it would have been created this as a closed shape and completely closed. In this case, the designer wanted to leave it open, so which is you basically revolve just the way SelfCAD calculates the revolution automatically. I'm not going into details. I have in my Revolve video explain exactly how this works. But the main thing over here is that he wanted to keep it this way, but now there's a hole over here, so you need to fill the hole. So it's using the fill polygons to fill this option over here. So now it's filled both sides. Okay, so now you have basically it's a closed cup. So now the designer is going to position this to the center. Okay, just positioning the object at center, so it makes it always easier to align stuff. And it's finalizing the scale, so I guess the size wasn't perfect as expected. And now what you're going to do is position this shape. So the sphere is going to position, and it's simply using move options over here to move it Y to 90, using actually this gizmo, and to position it and to exit and so on, selecting both and using stitch and scoop to cut them out. So, but he wants to keep this shape, so it turns on the keep subtracted object, so it will cut it out but still keep the shape intact. And now you have both options over here, so it's deselecting this and basically just using ground objects around them even more. So using the option 1, so there's no need to set anything, and just kind of making it a little smoother. Now over here, I think actually could have done a few different things because this was latest scaled. I think the problem was he didn't use a guide, so it was extended. He could have revolved around an edge, then you wouldn't need to scale it, and also you probably could have added more smoothness, so you didn't need to use round objects. But it's typical for designers, beginners, especially to SelfCAD, so you kind of use it and just improvise as it goes, and you can make it perfect the first time, or you can later improvise and use other tools to fix it, and that's perfect. Now what the designer actually is doing is quite nice, is using colors, and first of all just coloring over here using custom colors. This is for the X shape, but when it comes to the other shape, it's adding in this color also the shyness, using material section to adjust the shyness to make it look nice. And now this is actually interesting how he uses colors, and this one he goes to material section where you have a lot more option for you can set the color, you can set let me just do next, and then you can set emissive color separately. It's going to set the emissive color, and then separately it's going to set the specular color, so which basically the combination of all of them, and then you adjust the shyness, and the combination of all of them makes it look quite nice. And this is basically the tutorial is done. So as I said, there's a few things, if you know it's how to do it perfect, you could have avoided some steps and make it even better, but overall this tutorial is quite a great tutorial. There's just one thing that I realized: if you turn on the backface coloring, that somehow when you used fill polygon to fill the entire thing, SelfCAD didn't figure out the correct orientation of this, and as a consequence this face over here that was filled is actually inverted. And for this you need to go to flip normals, and if you click it the first time it will try to fixed flip normals, so it's basically just fixed everything perfect. If you do it now again, flip normals, it will flip normals with all geometry, will flip the entire thing, and then if you flip it back it will basically fix it. And I've shown this behavior in many videos before, but that's basically the only thing that was wrong in this tutorial. Okay, so now what I want to show here is I'm going to go actually back a few steps before the coloring, and as I said, I want to show first of all the Allign tool. So you have over here, okay, after scaling this, you have over here these two shapes, and you want to align this shape over here. So what I want to show here is, instead of moving it, you can go to the Allign tool, and on the Allign tool you have an option to align something. So I'm choosing this mesh. Then you have an option where you want to align it. You want to align it on the top, but the problem here is that you actually don't want it to be exactly in the top, and this is where you can move it down. So the thing is here, sometimes it's better visual, sometimes it's better just if you want to make it precision. So if you look over here, the size of this object is 120, so let's say you want to move it down by 40, so I make it minus 40, and then this gets basically set in like this. So this is just another way how you have these offsets, and many tools have these options with offsets, so you can use Align tool with offsets and position it perfectly fine. I've shown before this was actually positioned in the center to allow it better positioning, but actually if you do it like this, you don't even need it to have it in the center because it aligns based on an object regardless where the object is located. The other thing here is, let me show, maybe I can go back to the profile, see if I can have so many undo steps. Yes, okay. So you have this step over here, and actually I see here the problem that it's a little bit difficult to draw a profile going straight up over here. So you need to you need to do it before rotating it. So I can rotate it back, so I have a plane, or set another plane, doesn't matter. But the idea here is that you need to kind of draw a straight line over here to make it to rotate around. So if I do something like this, let's say I go to drawing and I can snap the plane. If I go to my plane settings, I can snap the plane to this or just move it down, doesn't matter how you do it. Now I can basically draw a line over here to rotate around. Now this line is not 100% straight. That's not a problem because I can use the flatten tool to flatten them out. So now I can basically flatten it. So now it's a straight line. Okay, so now I'm going to, I don't need to rotate it. I can revolve like this or I rotate later, doesn't matter. If I rotate around an edge, I can rotate like this, and now this will create a shape like this. So let me actually finalize it. Let me rotate the shape and just show you how this will look like. So if you do it like this and you give it an edge, so first of all, here will be closed. Okay, you have this beautiful type of faces over here, these triangles, a triangle strip, and then you'll still need to close the top, but at least the bottom will be closed completely, and you probably wouldn't need it to rescale it later. So, but it doesn't matter, that's not the main thing here. So what I want to show here, the main thing here is the idea of, let's go back to the shape how it was. Okay, so I brought back the shape, the original tutorial shape, and what I want to show here is I'm going to isolate this, and I want to show the idea how you can convert that into kind of a solid. So here's, let me first explain the problem. So this is basically a technical object. I mean, an artistic type of shape. It was created just not real measurements, real sizes. But even if it was, if you're thinking about parametric modeling, you want to have working with profiles so you can set them with parameters and so on. In many cases, you want to create in software like SelfCAD or Blender or any other this type of artistic type of software, you want to create the basic shapes. It's much faster, much easier. But later you want to have an option to turn them into final production, into a parametric software that will allow you to keep on customizing just parameters. And this is actually what SelfCAD allows you to do it quite easily. So, and this is what I want to show you over here. So let's say we have this object and you want to fine-tune them with parameters. But you want to create a design like this, visually and mixing artistic technical tools the way this was created. It's really fast and really easy. So here you have actually a few options how to do it. The first thing I want to show you here is that something I've shown in a previous video as well, that you have the option object drawing. If you're going to draw on an object, there is an option to simply draw on something. So I'm going to turn on wireframe so I can see what's going on. So I'm drawing, let's say, from here till, let's say, here, trying to see if I have the same straight line. And what you see over here, what happened is, let's exit this. If I isolate this, you can see it actually created this nice profile that was projected and traced through the object. And you can continue drawing the other pieces over here. From here, taking it, it's hard to see with this color. I have to reset the color. Let me see, reset the material. Okay, so the color makes it difficult to see. So you see over here actually did not completely fill over here, but you continue drawing and getting out pieces. And this approach is very good if you want to kind of just remove certain pieces of an object and copy them. But it can get some tedious and difficult to follow with really complex objects and a lot. So this is where I want to show you the other idea is you can use the cut with profile, the cut with plane tool. This is actually a new feature in SelfCAD. So where we added an option. First of all, let's see the plane where I want to cut. So I want to cut this side. So I'm going to switch plane. I'm going to use the front back. I don't need to set anything because I can cut it in the center, and this is positioned to the center, so this is basically at 0. And by the way, you have these same setting planes in the drawing, so you can just set planes. You can rotate if you need to add an angle, but for me I just need to have a straight cut through. And this is where it's a new feature over here, that you have an option to copy the profile. So I actually don't want to split the object. If I split the object, then I have an option to fill the cuts. It can make it 2 separate splits, but that's not what I want. I want to copy the profile and I don't want to cut the mesh. So I just don't want to cut the mesh, I just want to split. If I cut the mesh, this will actually split the object. Just copy the profile. And if I do something like this, what happened over here is, let's isolate this. Oops, I isolated the wrong one. Let's isolate this. You can see it actually cut through the entire object. Now, if you're going to use in parametric modeling software, the most frequently used tools is Revolve and Loft. So if you're going to use a Loft, you will need to have a complete profile, something like this. If you're going to use a Revolve, you only need half of it. So in this case, I can use again the cut with plane and cut this in half, simply cut this in half. But I'm actually going to use here, just to show you, I'm going to use the cube selection, because this is also an option that allows me to use a percentage. So I just want to cut it by 50%. Simply cut it 50%, and I click OK. And then I simply click delete, so I deleted this part. So now I have half of this shape like this, and I'm actually going to draw in a connecting line so I can use it as revolve around this edge. I actually don't need them. Let me show you I don't need them, because I can go to simply revolve and revolve around the edge, and then I can draw the edge live like this. I can draw from here to here, and this basically revolved around this edge. And now what you see, if I do it this way, this is complete. I don't need any stitch and scoop. I don't need to cut anything because I have the complete shape. So it's quite difficult to make a drawing the inside, and this is also something I've shown in a previous video, how you can actually draw the inside and fill it. It's really difficult to draw that. It's much easier to do simply using kind of a sphere and customize it, and then use the stitch and scoop to cut them out. But in a final version, it's much better if you do it this way. Now the benefits of doing it, as I said, is first of all, you can take this shape and you can export them as an SVG. In export, SelfCAD has an option to export as an SVG file, a profile, and then you can get it into a parametric modeling application if you want to have it for final production to adjust parameters. You can give it into FreeCAD or anything like that that allows you to customize parameters, and this is an easy way to take any object and convert them into profiles, and then put them into FreeCAD or something like that for parameters. But the other thing is, even if you want to keep on making it just something like this and simply customize this with precision, you can anytime customize the profile. So I can do, first of all, I can do chamfer. Let's say, for example, I want this to be chamfered. Obviously I cannot chamfer because there's too many edges over here, so I can remove some edges here, and let's say I'll go to my edit details. So I'm going to collapse this edge to here and this edge to here, so I can kind of give it some space over here. And now I'm going to select this edge and I'm going to chamfer this, or fill it, or chamfer or fill it, doesn't matter. You can see I make it rounded over here now, so this is now basically rounded. So you can easily customize and play with this. It's much easier to customize it like this. And obviously you can use resolution to reduce unnecessary vertices from all of this, and you can basically just continue customizing the sizes of everything and so on. So this is basically it. So the whole idea here is that you play with whatever tool works for you, but this can often be just a prototype, and later, once you have the basic shape, you can just convert them to profiles, which you can make it a more technical model within SelfCAD, or if you need parametric, you can export it to parametric software and then use it over there. And obviously the same thing could be with imported objects. You can cut any imported object and get the profiles and so on. So that's basically for this video. I hope you liked it, hope you learned something, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if you want me to show anything else. Thank you for watching, and bye.